Stop chasing. Let that sink in for a moment. Because the more you chase, the faster she runs. The more you try to prove your value, the more invisible you become. And the harder you push, the weaker you appear. But there's one psychological principle, ancient, ruthless, and quietly brilliant, that flips this dynamic completely. It doesn't come from modern dating advice. It comes from a man who understood human nature better than almost anyone in history, Niccolò Machiavelli. His lesson? Power isn't taken, it's given. And most men give it away the moment they start chasing. You've probably done it yourself, waiting for the text back, checking her stories, analyzing every emoji. You think you're being strategic, but what you're really doing is broadcasting one message: my world revolves around you. The irony? When you make someone your priority before they've earned that position, they subconsciously feel they've already won. The game ends, and attraction dies. So let's talk about the Machiavellian shift that changes everything. A single psychological reframe that makes her, or anyone really, start chasing you. Machiavelli taught that influence isn't about control through force. It is about creating perception and letting the other person choose what you've already designed for them to choose. In relationships, that means this. You stop trying to convince her of your value. You make her feel like your attention is scarce, selective, and earned. Scarcity creates desire. Selectivity creates respect. And when those two forces meet, you become psychologically magnetic. Think about it. Everything humans desire follows the same pattern. The less available it is, the more valuable it becomes. The more difficult it is to earn, the more meaning it holds. The same rule applies to you. When you chase, you destroy scarcity. You give away your power, your time, your energy, your mystery. But when you pull back with purpose, when your energy shifts from "I need you" to "I choose what deserves me," you trigger a deep instinct: curiosity. Curiosity is the seed of obsession. It's what makes someone lie awake, wondering what you're thinking, replaying your words, checking your profile to see what you're doing. It's not manipulation. It's mastery of emotional focus. Because here's the truth most men never learn. Attraction isn't about constant attention. It's about controlled uncertainty. In psychology, there's a principle called intermittent reinforcement. It's the same thing that makes slot machines addictive. The brain doesn't get hooked on rewards. It gets hooked on not knowing when the next reward will come. If you're always available, always texting first, always responding instantly, you remove the tension that creates emotional engagement. You become predictable, safe, boring. But when your attention becomes inconsistent, not as a game, but as a reflection of your full life, the mind of the other person stays alert, engaged, chasing the next moment of validation. That's what Machiavelli would call strategic distance. He understood that power is maintained not by presence, but by absence, by creating a vacuum that others are compelled to fill. The modern version of this is simple. You don't pull away out of insecurity. You pull away out of purpose. You don't disappear to manipulate. You disappear because your energy is too valuable to be wasted. Now here's where most men fail. They think detachment means coldness. They act robotic, emotionless, arrogant. That's not power. That's fear wearing a mask. Real psychological strength doesn't come from shutting down emotions. It comes from mastering them. You can still be kind, still be warm, still flirt, but you do it on your terms. When you stop chasing, you communicate something far deeper than words. I am the prize. I decide where my focus goes. And once you do that, something fascinating happens. People feel it. It's not what you say. It's not what you post. It is the silent energy of a person who isn't seeking validation, because they already validate themselves. That energy is magnetic. It draws people in. And once they taste it, they crave it. Let's go deeper. Why does this work? Because humans are wired for hierarchy and challenge. We subconsciously assign more value to things that seem harder to obtain. This comes from primal survival instincts. The brain assumes that anything scarce must be worth competing for. So when you stop chasing, you rewire the psychological frame. You go from trying to impress to being impressed upon. From seeking attention to commanding attention. You're no longer the pursuer, you're the prize. And here's the part most people overlook. When she senses that you don't need her approval, it doesn't push her away, it pulls her in. Why? Because emotional independence is intoxicating. It's the rarest quality in modern relationships, and the most attractive one. When you stand grounded in self-worth, when your happiness doesn't depend on external validation, you project a kind of calm confidence that disarms people. They start chasing not your attention, but your peace, your focus, your presence. That's the Machiavellian paradox. The less you seek, the more you attract. Now let's make this practical. How do you apply it without turning into a manipulative ghost or playing childish games? First, build your world. Fill your life so completely with purpose, goals, and passions that chasing anyone feels like a distraction. When you have something larger than a person to focus on, a mission, a vision, a pursuit, your energy shifts. That is what Machiavelli meant when he said that the wise man builds fortresses within himself. Your inner fortress is your independence. Second, control your attention. Attention is the most valuable currency in the modern world. Every time you give it away freely, you tell the other person exactly how much you're worth. So be deliberate. When you respond, do it consciously, not reactively. When you give time, do it because you want to, not because you need to. Third, communicate standards silently. Don't tell people you're busy, be busy. Don't brag about your worth, embody it. Silence is louder than words when it's backed by presence. And finally, reward genuine connection, not attention-seeking. When someone gives you authenticity, give them energy. When they play games, withdraw it. That's the balance of power. You become both kind and untouchable. Let's be clear. This isn't about control or manipulation. It's about reversing the self-destructive habit of chasing validation. When you chase, you signal lack. When you stop, you signal abundance. That's the secret. It's not that she suddenly changes, it's that you do. You become centered, focused, unbothered. And that calm energy does something powerful. It makes people feel uncertain. Uncertainty creates curiosity. Curiosity creates pursuit. You don't force her to beg for your attention. You create the space where she wants to. Because now, your energy has value. Now, your time feels earned. Now, your absence has meaning. That's the quiet power Machiavelli understood centuries ago. And it aims the power every man loses the moment he starts chasing. So stop chasing. Reclaim your energy. Step back, not in anger, but in awareness. Let your silence speak louder than your words. Let your purpose build your gravity, and let the world come to you. Because in the end, power isn't about control. It's about certainty. And the man who stops chasing becomes the man everyone else is drawn to find. The art of becoming the prize. Now that you've stopped chasing, the real transformation begins. Because stopping the chase is just the surface move, it's the signal. But to truly become magnetic, you have to build the foundation beneath that signal. Otherwise, silence turns into emptiness, and distance turns into disconnection. Here's what most men never understand. You don't attract by pulling away. You attract by becoming someone worth chasing. There's a difference between playing hard to get and being hard to reach because your life is full. One is manipulation. The other is mastery. And when you master yourself, everything changes. Your posture changes. Your tone changes. Your eyes communicate something no text message ever could. Presence. Presence is power. It is the quiet command that tells the world, I am grounded in who I am. Let's strip this down to something brutally honest. Every human being on some level wants to feel chosen. We crave validation, attention, significance. But when you need it, you give away the ability to command it. Machiavelli would say, the man who cannot govern himself will be governed by others. That's the core of dark psychology, not about deceiving others, but about understanding how easily humans deceive themselves. If you can't control your impulses, the need to text, to check, to chase, someone else controls your emotions. They become your puppet master. and you become their entertainment. But when you master that urge, when you feel the pull to reach out and instead redirect that energy into yourself, something powerful happens. You rewire your brain for dominance, not dependency. You start to operate from a place of choice rather than craving. That's not just attractive, that's magnetic. Let's look at what this really looks like in practice. Imagine this: you've been talking to her. Things seem great. Then, suddenly, she becomes distant. Before, you'd panic, overthink, overtext, overinvest. But now, you breathe, you wait, you observe. Instead of trying to fill the silence, you let it stretch. Because silence isn't the absence of communication, it's a form of it. You let her wonder, why isn't he reacting? Did I lose his interest? What's going on in his mind? That curiosity is your leverage. But here's the twist. You're not doing it to make her chase. You're doing it because you're centered enough not to need instant reassurance. That difference in intention changes everything. Real confidence doesn't chase, it calibrates. It's like a lion walking through the jungle. He doesn't roar for attention. He doesn't announce his power, he just is, and everything around him adjusts. Here's something few people will ever admit. The reason most relationships fail is because one person starts chasing while the other stops investing. Energy becomes unbalanced. When you learn to stop chasing, you reset that balance. You remind both yourself and the other person that connection must be mutual. That's the essence of psychological equilibrium. Each person values what they earn. If she feels your energy pulling away, she'll do one of two things. She'll either rise to match your energy, or she'll fade, revealing she was never truly invested. Either way, you win. Because detachment isn't about indifference, it's about clarity. You stop confusing interest with effort. You stop rewarding inconsistency with attention. And that single decision, to hold your energy sacred, filters your entire reality. Now let's go deeper into the Machiavellian layer of this mindset. Machiavelli taught that the most effective leaders weren't those who demanded loyalty. They inspired it through controlled mystery and selective generosity. When someone never fully knows where they stand with you, their mind stays engaged. They replay conversations. They interpret silences. They analyze every detail, trying to decode your intentions. That's not manipulation, it's psychology. The brain hates unfinished stories. It needs resolution. So when you become a mystery, people can't help but seek closure. And in seeking that closure, they chase you. The more they chase clarity, the more emotionally invested they become. That's the Machiavellian tactic in its purest form. Create psychological gravity through mystery and self-control. You don't chase attention, you build gravity, and gravity pulls everything towards you effortlessly. But let's talk about the danger of misusing this. Some people hear these ideas and think it's about control, ego, or manipulation. That's not mastery. That's insecurity in disguise. The true dark psychology of attraction is self-possession. Not owning others, owning yourself. Because once you fully own your emotions, no one can play you. They can only meet you where you stand. That's what makes you untouchable. It's not about being heartless. It's about being whole. It's not about making her beg. It's about creating the kind of energy that makes people want to earn your attention. The more you grow, the more selective you become. Not out of arrogance, but out of awareness. You stop wasting energy convincing anyone of your worth. Because real value never chases, it chooses. Let's talk about the inner transformation that comes from this mindset. When you stop chasing, you gain time. When you gain time, you gain perspective. And when you gain perspective, you start to see who you truly are. That's the real power behind all of this, self-discovery. Because when you're no longer consumed by seeking external validation, you start building internal validation. You develop discipline, focus, and purpose. You start achieving things that matter to you. And suddenly, you realize that all the chasing you did before was just a distraction from your own potential. That's the secret Machiavelli hinted at. Power doesn't come from controlling others. It comes from mastering your inner kingdom. Every time you choose silence over reaction, you build inner strength. Every time you walk away from drama, you reinforce your peace. Every time you prioritize your mission over attention, you evolve. That's when attraction stops being something you pursue and becomes something you radiate. Here's the paradox most people never grasp. When you no longer need validation, you start receiving it effortlessly. When you stop seeking attention, you draw it naturally. When you stop chasing, you become the chase. Because your energy tells the world, I'm complete. I don't need you to make me whole. That's the kind of presence that commands respect. It's calm, it's composed, and it's contagious. People feel safer around someone who doesn't need them to fill a void. They sense emotional strength, and that strength becomes irresistibly attractive. That's why stopping the chase isn't the end. It's the beginning of a higher form of attraction, one based on alignment, not obsession. So remember this. The Machiavellian tactic isn't about games. It's about awareness. It's about seeing the invisible strings that control most people and cutting them. Once you do that, you become untethered. You move differently. You speak differently. You act from purpose, not panic. And when she feels that, when she realizes that your world doesn't orbit around her, something shifts inside her too. Respect replaces comfort. Curiosity replaces certainty. Desire replaces control. And without you saying a single word, she begins to chase, not because you forced her to, but because your energy demands it. That's the final form of power, silent, magnetic, unshakable. Stop chasing, and everything you were chasing will eventually find you.